coming off the end of the 83-week winning streak, everybody knew a response was coming from Eric Bischoff's WCW. A day after the strong Spring Stampede pay-per-view, where Hogan and Nash officially turned on each other, establishing the split and the end of the original NWO. Along with Randy Savage winning the WCW title from Sting in the main event with Nash's help. WCW promoted 2 mega matches for the show. One was Bill Goldberg. After going through every member of the flock, Goldberg was going to face Raven for the US title in the highest profile match of his career so far. The second one was the payoff of the highest drawing program of the year with new champion Randy Savage vs Hollywood Hogan in the main event. The US title match, which got the Big Michael Buffer introduction, who was doing double duty tonight to add to the big match feel, was placed to start just when Raw was about to go on the air. The entrances of Goldberg and Raven took place at 8:55 p.m., to get the head start and signal to viewers that the match is coming up next. Goldberg, after exploding in popularity with bigger reactions week after week, and already making a difference in numbers, was now put in a trusted drawing position for his big test. The result that followed more than confirmed the hype. In an unheard-of occurrence, WCW maintained practically the entire audience it had in the unopposed hour for the Goldberg-Raven match, obliterating Raw with a 5.7 to a 3.7. More than that, the 5.7 opening segment rating was the highest opening segment in Monday Night War's history, and just 0.3 from the all-time record full stop. Bill Goldberg, just 7 months into his career, after becoming a big merchandise and arena attraction, was now a proven megastar in the making. The perfectly executed match itself, ending with Goldberg taking out the entire flock and winning his first title, was one of the biggest spectacles and hottest atmospheres in wrestling history, with the audience erupting non-stop for basically the entire duration of the match. Raw, coming from the sold-out Nassau Coliseum, opened with Vince McMahon and Dude Love's new segment, The Love Shack, setting up the Austin vs. Foley Unforgiven title match. After the first quarter, things went back to a more normal viewing pattern, with Raw jumping big to a 4.5 rating for the Nation New York street fight between Farouk and Kama, along with the latest DX and X, with the attraction to see how far they could take it on television, with the Outlaws challenging Hunter to take things up a notch, ending an entertaining segment with them spraying the crowd with super soaker guns. After the spray paints, Triple H threw subtlety aside and just repeated Scott Hall's "Don't Sing It" catchphrase in full. Austin opened Raw's second hour with a promo, promising to get to Vince before the show is over. In the main focus, Raw featured a show-long angle with Kane and Paul Bearer waiting for Undertaker in their parents' cemetery. Announcer Kelly was reporting from the site, to hold viewers, promising that the cameras are there ready to show any development at any moment. Kelly reported that Kane and Bearer were seen inside the cemetery earlier today, waiting for the big confrontation with Taker when he gets there. 35 minutes into the show, Kelly said that a scream was heard. Taker was there and quickly left. While doing it, Taker comes in and asks where Kane and Bearer left. Kelly then speculated that Taker is headed back to the arena. A few minutes later, a hearse arrived at the building, with Bearer and Kane supposedly carrying the parents' caskets with them, ending with Kane choke slamming Taker through the filled with bones and worms casket in another brutally strong angle that left the audience stunned. In the final build-up to the first ever Inferno match in 6 days. In addition to the Inferno match in the Austin vs. Dude Love main event, a big attraction for the show was Sable vs. Luna, with the company strongly hinting that Luna is gonna rip Sable's clothes off. Beyond the peaking on-screen product, with the shows again breaking the combined rating record with a 9.5 overall. The big story was happening behind the scenes. Ric Flair, after being promoted to appear and make a special announcement on the April 9 Thunder show, due to a misunderstanding or not, as Ric claimed he gave the company notice, flew to watch his son's freestyle wrestling tournament in Detroit on the same day, no showing Thunder and Nitro on Monday 7 days ago on April 13, in front of a record gate at the Target Center in Minneapolis, who was heavily promoting Flair to appear, even going as far as suggesting calling it Ric Flair Day. On that same day, a few hours before the show, Eric, after having a tense relationship with Flair for years, organized a locker room meeting in the building, burying Flair publicly and saying that he's going to sue him into bankruptcy. The rumored plan for Flair on Thunder was to lead to a big storyline with Eric into the summer of '98. Eric himself appeared on the show cutting an impromptu, semi-shoot promo on Flair. The plan, which would see Eric as the pragmatic heel boss, wanting to phase out industry icon Ric Flair as the aging legendary veteran, resembling the real-life situation happening at the same time in the Chicago Bulls organization, with owner Jerry Reinsdorf and GM Jerry Krause wanting to phase out aging star players despite them still being NBA champions. With the industry now more reality-based than ever before, a lot of speculation was that both Eric and Flair are working an angle. A few days later that was dismissed as WCW filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Flair for breach of contract. Rumors immediately started on a potential Flair return to the WWF, which wasn't really possible unless WCW officially released him, which was unlikely with Flair still one of the biggest draws in their business. Jim Ross on this Raw show even mentioned Ric Flair on air. The timing created more buzz with the upcoming Unforgiven pay-per-view, held in Flair's country of Greensboro, North Carolina. An idea that surfaced would see Ric and his son Reed sitting front row at the WWF event in what could have been an incredible situation, but didn't materialize with all the back-and-forth lawsuits between the companies. Randy Savage vs. Hulk Hogan was at this point, with 10 years of history on top, possibly the biggest money program in wrestling history. It was time for another round for the former mega powers on April 20, 1998. Savage and Hogan hyped as one of the biggest matches ever on wrestling television. Throughout the broadcast went over 15 minutes on TV, and as it often did, more than matched expectations, gaining over 2.5 million viewers for the duration of the match over 2 quarters, to draw an all-time Monday Night Wars record with a huge 6.5 rating. Smashing the 6 rating drawn by the Austin vs. McMahon confrontation the week before. That meant that along with numerous SummerSlam, pay-per-view, gates and viewership milestones, Hogan vs. Savage now held the all-time biggest pay-per-view in WWF history for their WrestleMania 5 main event 9 years earlier, the second biggest pay-per-view in WCW history for Uncensored 98 in March, and the most watched wrestling match in cable TV history. WWF tried to counter the match with the formula that worked the previous week, promising a big Austin McMahon confrontation throughout the show, which wasn't enough as Raw dropped to a show low 3.6 for Foley vs. Blackman in the hyped confrontation, going against the WCW main event. Savage was presented in storyline as coming to the match in severe disadvantage due to injuries from previous matches and the car attack 2 weeks ago in Miami. The reality was it wasn't only a storyline, as Savage was working with legit torn knee ligaments, with him needing major knee surgery. With business peaking, Savage delayed his surgery, pushed through and worked with the major injuries. Nash came out and finally jackknife powerbombed Hogan in a big moment that was built for weeks. The ending of the match saw Bret Hart, after weeks of promising to get to Hogan, shockingly turned heel, helping Hogan win the title. Ending a newsworthy program that would be in the worst timing possible considering the close competition, the last head-to-head show until May 11 due to the NBA playoff games on TNT. WCW drew the highest rating in the history of the Monday competition with a 5.1 overall.